Entrepreneurs Podcast.
Welcome to the Real Estate Entrepreneurs Podcast. And today I think this is the third time, my friend David Oles from Chattanooga, Tennessee. How you doing, Dave?
Good, man. Did you ever air the first two? I know we did one like this. You were in your office. I did one live, and then this one maybe.
Oh yeah, we did one like this. That's right.
Yeah.
That's on YouTube somewhere. And then we did the one in the office where I noticed the audio on that one was horrible.
Was it? Why?
Yeah, I don't know why, but I'm picky about the audio, man, because I've been podcasting for like 5 years now, and when I upload something and it doesn't sound right, I just get furious because I spend so much money on microphones and
But did you see that thing? What's his name? Josh Culler posted the other day in Family, that thing that would like redo the audio.
No.
Oh, dude, it was incredible. Go back and listen to it. You could probably have your VAs just recycle the audio, and it cleaned it up. It was impressive how it went, how much better it got.
Wow. Yeah, I'll check it out. So that's the thing, man. If you look at my studio here, I got a Rodecaster with, microphones and cameras, and I expect, because I have good quality equipment for the podcast to be high quality, right? And when it's not high quality, I take it to where I'm like, okay, where did we fail? Was it my production guy? Was it the systems that we have running? I don't know. So I start questioning things. That's why I picked up this new platform that we're doing this podcast on called Restream.
Yeah, Restream.
Yeah, Restream or whatever. Yeah, because the I call it the REI stream.
So, you're just making it your own. You think you're going to white label that?
It's an REI stream, right? Like so. But yeah, Restream, and I really like it. I enjoy it. I think this is the way I'm gonna start podcasting from now on. Yeah. A lot of people cannot come to the office, it's tough because they gotta get plane tickets and fly in and out or whatnot. But anyhow, man, what have you been up to? Let's talk about last year. So
thank God it's fucking over.
Yeah,
that's what I got to say about 2022.
December 31st, I was so happy. Like New Year's Eve, I was like, done. 2022 is gone.
Man, all you saw me was just assholes and elbows running out of 2023. Man, I wanted out of that, or 2022. I wanted out as bad as possible. Yeah, man, it was a tough year. Tough year for wholesaling. Great for our other businesses, but the wholesaling business, it was certainly a struggle. And that's definitely something most people don't talk about in the Instagram guru / influencer world, right? It's all Rolexes and Lambos. But we know all those guys, and it was definitely a struggle, as honestly I've been predicting for a long time. When you start to go through that market shift, you lose the equilibrium in the market between buyers and sellers. And sellers' expectations are just so high. Buyers get overly conservative, and until you bridge that gap and get back to equilibrium, which I think we're getting back to now. I mean, it's just a struggle to find the quantity of deals like we were getting before.
Yeah, I was telling you offline when before we started the stream that we didn't do the amount of deals that we normally did in a year. Yeah. For us, average was anywhere from 100 to 150. That's average. Yeah. Last year, we came way too short on our revenue. Like you, luckily for me, I do have a VA company that started out of nowhere, and that kind of like helped me, navigate these waters. Also, our events and all those seminars that I'm doing on the East Coast that are like in Spanish and all that. Yeah. That also brought in some revenue and, multiple streams of income, right? Sure. You also have rental properties and you just don't rely on one thing, which is the wholesaling. You're diversifies. But let's talk about 2022, man.
Sure.
Because 2022 was coming up on like a lot of people made a lot of money on the first 2 quarters.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
Like, and for those of you that don't understand what a quarter is, the year is divided in 4 quarters. Each one of them in how many months?
Three.
3 months. So January, February, and March is Q1. April, May, and June is Q2.
Yep.
And on up till then, everything was beautiful. Like especially the guys that were selling to hedge funds and locking up deals at 90% to sell it for 98%. I mean, we saw a lot of crazy things, right?
Yeah, for sure. And that was, I feel like I knew that was an unsustainable model. And we were never the super big hedge fund people. That was never, wasn't that we didn't want to. It never, for some reason, happened for us. Like that wasn't our model. And a lot of people say they were selling these places to hedge funds for 50, 60 grand. Maybe they were, maybe they weren't. I don't know, man. There's a lot of bullshit in our industry.
Yeah.
It's hard to tell who's telling the truth and who's not. But for us, first 2 quarters were good. And, as you know, the year before we had gone through a little restructuring. So, we were growing. We were adding people to the team. Some of them were the right people. Some of them weren't. And, like in all small businesses, of course, we have churn, we have turnover with people. And about the middle of the year before it kind of really started, we sort of wiped out our acquisition staff and started bringing in new people, brought in some new training. We hired Eric Klein to do our acquisitions training. And, and then just the bottom sort of fell out. So for us, just a lot of things happened all at once. But the good news is, the team that we have now survived all of that. We still made some money. September, October, November were just abysmal months. And, December kicked back off pretty good. And, we're back on track here for January.
Good to hear, man. So same thing happened to us. Aside from the team, like that was not my challenge last year. My challenge was, so we relied a lot on texting for marketing,
right?
And those texting rules started changing real fast. And the things that we were able to get away with on the first 2 quarters, we couldn't get away with on the last 2 quarters because our systems got shut down. That's actually another side of revenue that I lost was the texting revenue. Right. But we're back on track now. We should be texting already or next week. We found a way to get reactivated and be completely compliant and legal. So we will be doing that next week. But aside from that, we stopped marketing through texting probably somewhere around August, maybe, and that completely delayed our own marketing channels bringing deals in. So we were relying a lot on JVs. Thank God we have a very heavy JV dispo operation. And actually right now, we probably have 12 to 15 contracts that are all JVs. Yeah. So those JVs were helping us, keep some revenue coming and not be bled 100% from like guys like you that I know Charles had like 67 contracts, and he called me one day and he said, man, I'm canceling almost half of them because they were either too high or whatever. But there were multiple things happening last year. Last year was a weird year. Like on your case, you were restructuring your team, and you probably build it and rebuild it maybe 2 or 3 times.
Well, right? I think you're gee whiz, sure. Anybody that's in a small business, you're constantly taking that team and either like a Rubik's Cube, twisting it, turning it, trying to get it right, or like clay. You're always molding it to try to find the right people. And I've been hiring people for 30-something years, in different industries and, retail and, manufacturing and stuff. And, it's like a tenant, right? Same thing. You bring somebody in, you think they're going to be great. You can test them. You can do all the stuff you want. Maybe they're right for the job. Maybe they're not. And I used to get really hung up on that. Like, oh God, I hired another one. It didn't work. I'm like such a failure. And, our mutual friend, Steve Richards, that runs Team Architects, we were on a call one time and he said, God, what did he say? Something like, they did a survey of Fortune 500 companies and the average employee only lasted 18 months. And those are Fortune 500 companies that have the greatest HR people from every Ivy League school running their companies. like the fact that a small business, we have somebody to last 4 to 6, 7 months, and then they turn over is not terrible. That's just the nature of what we do. And you throw on the top of that these are sales type people, right? Because we don't have this churn in our transactions company, because that's very stable business. But sales, where you're held to a standard, and you have to be producing. Not everybody's built for that.
Yeah, in my case, I went overseas, so all my salespeople, they're kind of like employee-minded oriented, if you will. So, and they like the steady paycheck, they like the commission, because we have a hybrid. But overseas doesn't kill me when I have a bad month.
Right.
Here, if I would have had a sales floor in the Houston office, I would have probably had to wipe off people like somewhere around October or November, because we weren't just closing enough deals.
Yeah. Well, I'll tell you, we do have a sales floor, and it was a struggle. Anybody that's telling you it wasn't a struggle is full of crap, I'm telling you.
Well, for me, it was a struggle too, because I still have payroll overseas, right? So just because it's overseas, that doesn't mean it doesn't hurt. It does hurt, because you're still in the 5 figures, somewhere in the middle. It's high 5 figures. It's not low 5 figures.
Yeah.
So, it's maybe I don't have a payroll that's 6 figures like some guys. They in between marketing and payroll, they're over $100,000 to $200,000 per month.
Yeah,
I'm happy I'm not there, and I don't want to get there right now. Like I don't think this is the moment to do that, unless you're doing PPC and your PPC is turning and burning real fast, right? Some guys do amazing with PPC. I am going to start doing PPC using actually Brandon Bateman, who's coming to our event.
Oh, okay.
He's coming to the event, and he's going to speak on PPC stuff, I guess.
Yeah.
And I've heard a lot of great things about him, and I'm going to give him the chance to run my PPC campaigns. I just haven't made up my mind on when that's going to happen yet, because it has a lot to do with my team. My team is used to nurture leads with SMS and cold calling.
Right.
So when you go to PPC and those are inbound leads, your response time has to be very fast.
Yeah.
So I have
and
to
we've
make
done
sure
that. Yeah, we went through that clutch and break, and I definitely want to talk about SMS, where we were 100% heavy on SMS, kind of in our company's previous life, where we were sending 50,000, 70,000 texts a week, when it was just completely unregulated. It was like just the fucking wild west, 3 years ago, to where it's just getting so difficult to run effective large scale SMS that we had to clutch and break out and go to a PPC campaign. And I'll be honest, man, I love it. It's so much easier. It's just I don't spend my day filled with people coming in the office saying, well, what list next, what city next, what because your data burn is so extensive on SMS. I mean, you're just burning through cities like Grant took Richmond. So PPC, we like it. It's we about once a quarter I sit down, I evaluate the markets that we're in, where are the leads coming from, that are actually closing. And then let's say Houston was on our list or whatever, right? Well, we've got no leads from Houston. We're obviously close no deals. Let's kill Houston and add Raleigh, North Carolina, right? So we can, it's just very easy to manage. And then you can just turn the dial up slowly but surely,
Good deal, man. And what about Easy, man? So a lot of people don't even know you own Easy REI Closings, which is a transactional coordinating company that service people like me. So tell me about Easy, man. What's
Easy
if I'm somebody that's looking to maybe add a TC to my team, why would I go to Easy and not get a TC?
Well, you definitely can. Here's what I tell people. You can change your own oil, or you can go to Jiffy Lube. You can go to the grocery store tonight and buy all the stuff to make yourself some pasta, or you can go to Olive Garden. Let me say this. One way or the other, if you are going to grow your business past 2 to 3 deals per month, you're going to have to start outsourcing some things, right? Not just and when I say outsourcing, let's just say you bring somebody into your office, right? Somebody's going to handle texting. Somebody's going to handle acquisitions. Somebody's going to handle the the transactions, right? Because there's a lot of bits and pieces and parts that go into getting these deals closed. And, the one thing that we do as investors, right? We go after people who are in what? Distress, which is awesome, right? They need help. That's our job as investors. We're here to help sellers. But typically, those people that are in distress, it's bankruptcy, foreclosure, divorce, tax liens, bankruptcy, all the shit, right? We reach into the bottom of the lead bucket and scrape off of the bottom. And that's awesome because one, they are motivated. Two, it's an easier conversion cycle than somebody who has no motivation. But on the flip side, here's the thing, you have to be able to clear those deals. All those problems, those pain points that you targeted, well, they have to be cleaned up on the other side, and somebody has to be able to do it. And what we found, because we've been doing this for 20 years, new investors struggle with that, right? I struggled with that when I was new. I remember going to a title company and taking in a contract, and the attorney's like, no, we can't do this. And I'd be like, well, throw that contract and, throw it out because, this guy, his opinion was we couldn't close it. And we just got really good at asking the question, well, what can we do? So anyways, the whole idea behind Easy REI Closings is we act as the virtual transaction coordinator for wholesalers and investors all across the country. We're the only company that works in all 50 states and does all transaction types, whether it's novations, wraps, sub-to, wholesale, land contracts, lease options, all of that stuff. So our whole goal is very simple, very simple. I want to help you as the investor do more deals and make more money next year, right? We just want to spin that wheel faster and faster and faster because that's the thing that's the most important to you, right? So the easiest way for me to explain it to people is it's like a relay race, right? Like when we were in high school, we all had to run around the track and you had that little baton. So the minute you go out and you have your contract with Mrs. Smith, who's the seller, the owner of record, you get that contract, you hand it off to me. Now, instead of you trying to decide, what title company am I going to use in West Virginia? Will they even do this type of transaction? Let me stop and go gather death certificates and all that paperwork that is so time consuming that nobody ever tells you about in Guru World. Now we're going to take all of that off your plate. So you just worry about selling your deal. Now, same thing. I get Bob the builder who's going to buy my deal. Just give that contract to us. We'll talk to Bob. And then now we're going to coordinate everything with the title company so that you don't have to worry about that. You're just going to, the question for you is going to be, do you want a check or a wire, right? We're going to schedule the closing. We're going to help to do anything that we can to clear the title within reason, right? Like obviously we can't fly to Nebraska to knock on somebody's door, but anything that we can do to, help this thing get done quicker. And what happens is we found that a lot of people that come in and, come as clients that are doing 2 to 3 deals a month. Well, now they can do 6, 7, 8 deals a month because that 20 or 30% of their brain power that was messing around with paperwork and nonsense, now they're focused on doing more deals, talking to more sellers, talking to more buyers, making more money.
We have a great question here, David. Now, he meant, what do you think, so Lenin Alvarado, who's actually coming to attend Growth,
awesome.
He's coming from New Jersey. What do you think happened to the shifted in the industry after Q2?
Sure.
We're going to talk about that in a minute, Lenin. Yeah. So stay tuned because I want to ask a couple other questions to David about Easy. And shout out to Carlos Rodriguez, who's saying, what's up? Basically, yeah. So excited for the event in February. That one is Facebook user. I don't know who that is. But yeah, we're excited too. David is coming, and he's always bringing his crew. But anyhow, so Easy is a transactional coordinating company that's helping not only wholesalers but also other types of investors, right?
Yeah. We're going to start working with realtors here probably middle to end of Q2, since we're talking about quarters. And then we've also started the search for to be able to open our own title company. That's like actually new news. I haven't talked about that anyplace.
Wow.
We've started working, interviewing with some kind of nationwide title companies where they sort of not franchises, but anyways, where we can buy into that. So that's something that we're looking to have in place by the end of the year.
Awesome, man. Congratulations. I hope it happens soon. By the way, you still need to talk to Mike Steyer with
I know.
they can probably help you with that.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, because what happens is, we close 60 to 80 deals right now per month for investors. And, our goal is to be at, 500 clients within the next 18 months. So even at a conservative number, that's 1,000 closings per month. So we need to have a little more control over it. So we're going to probably get into the title business at some point. We had a meeting yesterday with a local title company.
I've seen actually people going to the title business and exiting even the other business they came from because it's very profitable. It's cookie cutter, even though there's a lot of nuances on title, how to clear title and do it correctly and all that. But you can tap into the regular market where you're now marketing to agents that are bringing you cookie cutter houses that
Easy
don't
stuff.
have that many problems, right? Those are easy. So it opens up a whole new world for you. I tell people all the time, man, like, because we're all wholesaling today, right? Like you got a wholesaling operation. I have one, and our friends that are usually that we're hanging out with have one. But eventually, if you find something that's better, and that's
and it's a good point. I thought about that earlier when we started talking. Wholesaling is an amazing place for everybody to start because it's very low risk, doesn't cost a lot of money. Like literally, you could do this with no money. That's how we started. Broke as the day is long. And we just went out there and I've talked about it a million times how we did it, but it's a fantastic place to start. Wholesaling is the greatest equalizer, right? Whether you are, rich, poor, tall, short, skinny, fat, whatever, everybody can do it, right? And you don't even need to leave your house. It's a little more difficult, but like you can do it. So it's a great place to start. And, very few people do it for 13 years. I've done it because I'm too dumb to quit. But, it's this great pillar that you can build other businesses around. So for us, we started with wholesaling and then we added rentals. And then we added, when the market was right, we added rehabs. And then we started some other businesses but it's all shot off of wholesaling. That has definitely been the core of everything that we do. And, big believer in it. And I would encourage anybody, if you're thinking about getting into real estate, and you like talking to people and you got a little bit of hustle to you, it's a fantastic place to start.
You're right. And so like, I got to wholesaling later on. I didn't start wholesaling right away. I was flipping and being a landlord and all that.
Yeah.
But now that I started fully doing wholesaling probably towards the end of 17, middle 17 towards the end, out of necessity, because it was cool to wholesale. I needed to make money fast.
Right.
I started my VA company, which revolves around wholesaling. I started my texting platform, which revolves around wholesaling. Our data and texting kind of like goes hand in hand. My education goes around wholesaling. And eventually, if one of those companies grows to where they need more of my attention, I probably won't be. Well, I'm not wholesaling today, by the way, because I'm not the one locking up deals and selling deals. I'm pretty sure you're on the same boat. I forgot.
Very rarely am I on the phone with anybody.
Yeah, I forgot the last time I talked to a seller and a buyer, right? But if one of those businesses takes off to where I can use my infrastructure from wholesaling in that business to make it grow bigger and go to new dimensions.
Yeah.
Why am I gonna stay as a wholesaler? I mean, that was just a stepping stone to get to where I want to get, right?
Yeah. Yes. So
I mean, think about it like the guys from Batch, to bring up a name.
Yeah.
Are they wholesaling today? No.
They're going through development. They've definitely moved on, right?
They moved on, and their business grew to where they're like, you know what? Why am I wasting time doing this thing where my energy and time can be invested in something that grows bigger?
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. The thing that nobody talks about with wholesaling is, on a small scale, it's very profitable, incredibly profitable. But then everybody wants to scale. And I explain to people, like, you'll make less money your first year or two scaling, because you've got whether you're going to do VA route or whatever you're going to do, like, there's cost of infrastructure and people and, that cost that wasn't there before. And then there's learning curve. Like even with a great coach, you or me or somebody that's going to help them do that, there's still just the learning curve because all of us do things just a little bit differently. And that's the great thing about real estate. You can do your business however you want, and then you get it to a higher level, like we've both had, and then, but that's expensive, right? There's no like now you're on the wheel, you're on the hamster wheel, and you have to keep that wheel moving constantly. And a mentor of mine, most people don't know because it was a long time ago when he was really started. It was Kenny Rushing out of Tampa, and I was at his office, and he's like, "Listen, man, like having a big team is awesome, but like being small is really cool too." And I remember when we were small, I could just shut off my marketing, and we went to Europe for a month. Somebody collected the rent when they dropped it through the little slot in the door, made the deposits. My life was good. It's a lot harder for me now to leave. I could probably leave now for a month. In fact, the girls in my office would be really happy if I left for a month. But they told me I can't go to meetings anymore. Heather and Hannah, and they were doing interviews last week, and they didn't even want me in the interviews. Hurt my feelings, man. I'm going to tell you. But now, it's harder to disconnect like that because I've got whatever 20 people here that I have to make sure everything is running because they depend on the company, right? Like now we're CEOs, not hustlers, and we have to make sure our business runs because they have rent and kids and car payments and mortgages and all those types of things. So it's a different level of responsibility for sure.
Yeah, you got more people depending on you, right? And it's like, okay, we didn't make money this month. You still got to pay them one way or another.
Yeah, man. I mean, you made that commitment to those people when you hired them. And that was the struggle, right? For the 3 months. So the bigger companies that survived through the second half of last year luckily had some reserves, you had to have the cash to make that payroll and make all of those things happen. And, you're doing it. You have to do it with an investment mindset, right? I'm investing in my company and, we're going to come out of this better. Like we've got a plan and, kind of all that stuff. But a lot of people went out of business, man. I mean, a lot of people,
man, I saw so many people sweating it, but this is a great question that Lenin asked, right? So I'm going to bring the question back up, which is, what do you think happened on the second quarter, right? Multiple things happened.
Yeah, easy.
So it wasn't just one thing. It was a perfect storm. Number one, inflation in our country was going up out of control. So the Feds needed to stop it. Mm-hmm. And in order for the Feds to do that, they have to raise interest rates. Mm-hmm. When you raise interest rates, now buying power is reduced.
Yeah.
And also panic comes into play. Like people think the world is going to end, and it's not going to end. Trust me.
Yeah.
We're still
these things happen. It's very predictable. You can always look back. And I don't even think that we're going to take a big drop. I think we pretty much plateaued, right? And I think we're going to probably start to see increases again the second half of this year. But 100%, you cannot go straight up and to the right forever, right? Like anybody that wants to call this a political thing is crazy. You just can't print money forever and lend money at 1%. You will 100% run the economy into the wall. You'll just blow it up. So somebody had to do something. Was it the right thing? Fuck, I don't know, man. I'm not an economist. That's not my thing. But yeah, I mean, something had to happen.
I mean, when you see the price of cars, vehicles.
Dude, I just bought one. I know.
Appreciate. That's crazy. That's when you know something is wrong because vehicles don't appreciate. Not in this country.
Yeah.
Vehicles only appreciate in countries that have an out of control inflation.
That's true.
Okay. And that's what was happening here. Our inflation was out of control.
Yeah.
So I
sold my wife's Jeep and we made money on it. I was getting yellow letters for my Jeep Gladiator when I still had it last year. Yellow fucking letters for a car. That was crazy, dude. Wow. It was insane. So somebody had to do something. So, and this is the thing because I've been doing this for 20 years and been through a couple market corrections. This is different from 2008, 2007, 2008, 2009. 100% different. Not the same thing. These fucking banana heads that are on, social media saying it's the end of the world and foreclosures are up 300% are just I don't know, fucking looking for
Well,
attention.
there's a lot of them. I mean, I was looking this morning on PropStream at pre-foreclosures in New Jersey. Man, there's a ton of them. There's like 600 of them in one county, and another 500 on the county next to it.
But nationwide, dude, we're still, even though we're up 300%, we were at like 1,000% low. You know what I mean? So we're still not anywhere. I've got a report from auction.com that somebody sent me. We're still at historically low foreclosures, you know, still very, very low. And there's still such demand in the market that these are just going to get absorbed up. It's not anything. We're not going to be out there like investors making offers like we did before.
No.
These are all going directly to brokers.
2008. No, it's not going to go back to that. Okay. Because number one, the banks, they know that when they foreclose on a property, now they got to pay taxes on it. They got to put insurance on it, and they got to get squatters out of the way.
Right.
That's the problem they don't want to deal with.
Yeah.
So they're smarter.
The guys that were around in 2007, 8 are still around today. Last time they didn't know what the fuck to do with all these properties. Now they know, which is why they were doing all this forbearance. Because again, not a banker, but once they start to foreclose on a property, it's tagged as bad debt, and that affects their lending ability, right? So it's in a bank's best interest to try to work it out with you, right? So that's why they were doing all this forbearance and things. And that, you know, and you want to keep good assets on the books, right? You know, banks pulling back a lot of properties and having to set up these REO property or departments and foreclosure, like that's very expensive. You know, at the end of the day, it's not like they're making a lot of money. So yeah, I mean, we're definitely going to see some. But so here's what happened last time, because you know we went through it and we were investing, is when we were at the top of the market. We didn't see, you know, it's like we were on the train tracks. We sort of knew something was happening, but we couldn't see how close the train was, right? You didn't have a good feel for it. And the drop that we went through almost overnight probably took almost a year before, right? It's just a very slow burn until the legs just finally got kicked out from underneath us in real early 2009. And I remember being in RIAs back then, and all the gurus were running around teaching. I got to quit saying that like it's a derogatory term. All the people that were teaching real estate education, you know, they were teaching how to buy foreclosures and stuff like that. And us too, right? We were on that plan. We were on subject to. We were buying leads from Foreclosure Daily. Well, what happened is for years, banks finally were starting to take these properties back, and they just flooded the market all at once. And in a place like Florida, it just decimated the economy, right? So the difference between then and now is today, what's different that we didn't have in 2009? Fucking social media, Snapchat, Instagram, Snapadoodle, you know, all the things, right? 14, 24-hour news channels. Back then, you only had Dan Rather, which was depressing enough if you watched him at 6:30 talking about how they didn't know if the economy was going to open up the next day. So what happened this time is all of a sudden the Fed raises rates, and then poof, like it fucking stopped. It was like somebody pulled the emergency brake for investors, because today, what's the difference? Like all investors are very keyed into what's going on, right? So they immediately just stopped. Like everybody panicked and just stopped. Now, what happened is, you know, we had equilibrium. All of a sudden, buyers are, you know, on the bell curve. Buyers are like, oh, there's a problem. I need to buy with more spread if I'm going to buy at all. Sellers are like, hey, my neighbor's house sold for, you know, $10 billion last week. You know, we're still good. And it just has taken time for those sellers to realize, you know, that the market's not where it was. And then once they come down and we have equilibrium again, then we're good. Because it doesn't matter if we're at the top or the bottom, right? Wholesalers, investors, we can make money because everybody's got an equal expectation of what the market is. When it was high, that's cool. Sellers knew they were on top of the world. Buyers knew they were going to overpay. Everybody knew. Now that we're back down at the bottom, like now we can help the sellers that need to be helped because they're reasonable, and the buyers have the same expectation of where pricing is.
That brings up a good question. I'm going to show you here by Lenin, right? Lenin is brand new. He's a newbie. He's about to get his first contract.
Nice.
Okay? He's one of my students. He's on my community. Okay, the Hispanic community. So I teach them in Spanish how to wholesale and prospect and all that. And he's got a question, which is very valid. Is it a good time now for newcomers like us?
Yes. So let me tell you, when I started wholesaling, it was in mid-June 2009, which could be the shittiest time in history to go back and look at the market. But here's what I will tell you. One of the reasons that we're so successful now is because we really got good at sorry, one of my monitors is going. We got really good at dispoing properties when there were no buyers around, right? We got really good at figuring out what they wanted and, bringing the exact product to them that they needed. So first off, this is not then, but no, it's always a good time to get into the market. So here's the misnomer that people I think get into, right? They tie investment real estate to retail real estate, and that's not our business. We're in the business of helping people solve problems, right? We can all agree on that. So let's go back to the top of the market when things were fucking bananas crazy, right? Who are we helping? People who had motivation and they needed to sell quickly, right? They could not go the traditional route. So if they couldn't go the traditional route at the fucking peak of the market when things were bananas and people were paying a lot of money, what do you think is going to happen when we're at the bottom of the market? Right? These people, life still happens to people, right? There's still death, there's still divorce, there's still taxes, there's still foreclosure, there's still bankruptcy, right? People are getting job transfers. All of those things are still happening, probably in a greater, greater numbers than they were before.
Divorce.
So this is a great time to be an investor, right? That let all the banana heads, let them all jump out, right? And that's going to happen, right? At the top of the market, you had all the people who were making easy money. They all bailed out, when we went through this little drop. And luckily, this drop seems to be pretty quick. But then we're going to have a new group of people like him jump in. Or like, hey, I realize that I can make a whole bunch of money in real estate. It's great that all those other goofballs left because now I'm in here and I can have a greater market share.
Yeah, I saw a post by Nick Perry saying, I buy your domain. If you're a wholesaler and you're not, I will buy your domain, cash or something like that, right?
Yeah.
Because he knows that, there is a lot of those guys that came in, made a little bit of money, and now that things are going back to normal, where you actually have to put in your time, you have to actually make the calls, pick up the phone, do the dials, and do the grunt work.
Yeah.
Some of those posers are going to leave.
Oh, so many.
Or most of them will leave, right? And then guys like us, which we're just going to adjust to whatever is going on in the market, period.
Yeah.
Unless your transactional company grows so big that it requires all your attention, then you're going to exit a wholesaling operation because it makes no sense time-wise for you to be there, right?
Yeah. I'm going to tell you, dude, that's probably a thing that's going to happen this year. And I have really mixed feelings about it. I was talking to Heather yesterday, my VP of operations, like that's going to probably happen this year. And after doing it for 13 years, it was hard enough to stop rehabbing, but to stop wholesaling, man, I'm not sure how I feel about that because I love it. Like I love the business, I like doing all that stuff, but there's only so much bandwidth, right? As our coaching increases and, speaking and, we're running around all over the country, doing great events like yours. And then, the transaction company, which 3X'd last year, which will probably 5X this year. There's just, you've only got so much attention span to give to different things. Yeah.
Shout out to Manjot. He came to the last event. He's coming to the next one. He's awesome, enjoying the conversation. He's excited that he's coming to the next event, but it happens, David. And in my case, as long as I'm teaching wholesaling, I will be involved in wholesaling one way or another, right? Because I like to put my money where my mouth is, basically. Right. Hey, this is what I'm doing right now, and it works for me. It's going to work for you as well.
Yep.
I'm not like some of those gurus that we both know that they teach it, but they don't practice it. And they love collecting the fees from their students.
Man.
I can't do that. Morally, that I cannot go that route. So as long as I'm teaching wholesaling to people, even if it's one person, I better be doing it, right?
Yeah, no, I agree. And there's a lot of those people out there.
There's a lot of them.
So many big names.
Yeah, the big names, they're out there, and they're teaching this, but they're not doing it. And when you're going through struggles, they just don't. How can they assist you?
You can't relate, right?
Like, how can they help you if you're going through a struggle? Hey, my marketing campaign is not working.
Yeah.
What am I doing wrong, right? Well, just try this other thing, right? And they're just copying what someone else is doing.
Yeah.
Because they're in the circle, they're in the circuit, I would call it.
Yeah.
So they know cold calling is done this way, bandit science is done this other way.
Yeah.
PPC, just go do PPC. That's the answer, right? No, it's not the answer, because
this guy got an affiliate code and use him, right?
Yeah, now all of a sudden you see somebody pushing PPC like crazy because they just got an affiliate code and they're just making money that way.
Yeah. Now, I do think, I'll be honest, I think PPC is probably the future. And let's talk about this, because you're super heavy SMS guy. I think it's pretty much dead. I mean, I think it's done, man. I think the government's not going to do away with it, but I think carriers, Verizon, AT&T, Sprint, I think they fucking had enough. I think they've got old ladies like my mother calling them, going, "How do I stop this?" It never stops.
Yeah, and it's because people abuse it, right? So I get a message yesterday from this girl. Yeah. I'm not going to mention her name. Ricardo, Twilio shut down my account. And I was like, and she's like, "What are you using?" And I was like, "Well, I'm using my own system right now." And she's like, "How much is it?" And I was like, "Well, it's $13.97 a month." What? That's crazy. That's too expensive. I said, exactly. That's what I want, because I don't want any of you guys that don't know how to text, abuse the system.
Yeah.
And one of the ways we stay compliant is by having a human being behind it. Click, click, right?
Human intervention.
And then we register the company with 10DLC, which, by the way, if somebody says, "I'm going to sue you," they know exactly what your EIN number is, your address, your company name, the whole 9 yards, right? Yeah. So you're taking risks now that in the past, it was the Wild Wild West, man.
Oh, dude, we were there, man.
Right? Hey, just put that your 123 Acme LLC and just text, and you're good. Like, no big deal, right? Nobody's gonna ever find you. That's not the case anymore. And you gotta have opt-in and out languages in there. You gotta have a bunch of things that reduces drastically the level of engagement that you get from a seller. But this is the key, right? And you mentioned it earlier, David. You mentioned it earlier. We are problem solvers, number one. Mm-hmm. What are we looking for when we're marketing? We're looking for people that need to sell fast.
Right.
That's the key. And we don't need to convince them that they have a problem in their hands. We just need to be the solution to the problem.
That's it.
Right? And other than that, because I was on a call with not Lenin, but it was Oscar. It's like they're working together. Mm-hmm. And Oscar said, "I convinced the seller to do this." I said, "Bro, you're not going to go far like that. Because by you convincing the seller, you convince the seller today, tomorrow they change their mind, they're not convinced anymore."
That's exactly it. You'll have such a hard time getting that deal to closing. I mean, it's just they will kick and scream all the way to closing,
Yeah. So this is not the business for convincing people. Mm-hmm. We're just fishing.
Yep.
And we're fishing for the people that need to be helped.
Yeah.
Transition to the next, hey, I got a property that's vacant. It's got squatters. I don't want to deal with those squatters. Can you be my buyer? Yes, I can be your buyer. Right.
Yeah. And I think I'm going to tell you, I'm going to say it here. I think bandit signs are going to make a comeback. I think the reason that I know the reason SMS took off so big, so fast, and was adopted by so many people is because it was cheap.
The costs
were literally anybody could sign up for one of these big mega companies and just start texting,
My return on investment on SMS was just outrageous. Okay.
Dude, I know, man. We up until we did our split, we lived on SMS. But slowly they're just boxing that out where you can't do it. So Yeah, I think direct mail is going to make a little comeback because it's going to be cheaper than PPC. I think people are going to go back and do some bandit signs, which work great, but they have their own risk. Speaking of somebody who's been to the county, been to court a couple times, there's some risk involved in that. But yeah, man, I mean, ultimately, I think anybody who's going to have a large company is doing volume is going to have to be on PPC. I think that's just it. And then that will get oversaturated, and then we'll have to figure out the next thing.
Yeah.
Or it's so expensive, be like your texting platform.
Well, PPC is getting expensive, right? So
my leads have jumped almost double in the last year.
Yeah, it depends on where you're marketing, right? But if you're marketing on a city like on a large metro area like Houston or San Antonio or maybe Memphis or Nashville, Atlanta, I mean, the cost per click is going to be outrageous because you got so many people trying to be on that first page.
Yeah.
And the keywords are getting very expensive.
Yeah. That
for you to do PPC, you got to have deep pockets. You can't just say, I'm going to put $500 a month on PPC. That's too quick.
No. If you're not spending, I don't know how you could spend less than 10 grand, to be honest with you. On a couple different markets. And that 10 grand won't go far if your markets are Charlotte, Atlanta, and Miami.
Right.
You're going to have to mix in some secondary markets, some smaller type counties in there. And I mean, it's, it is what it is, right? Times are changing. Inflation has hit marketing as well, I guess.
Let's talk about a 10 growth, man. So you're coming.
Yeah, dude. So excited.
This is your fourth time, David. I think fourth. Is it?
Have we done it 4 times? 3, 4?
No. So we've done it 3. This is number 4.
We've done 3?
Yeah, because we did one where Brad Lee came over.
Okay.
Then we did Miami. And then we did then we did the one in June.
Yeah, that's right.
Here at the Norris Conference Center.
Yeah.
Man, that one you were on stage like 5 times.
I know, I love it.
Yeah, so on this time around, you're gonna be on stage twice. You're gonna be on the first day, actually.
Yeah.
You have 40 minutes, and then you're gonna be on the dispositions panel.
Yeah.
Most likely on the creative finance panel as well, which are Sunday afternoon.
Yeah.
But I wanted to ask you, what are you gonna speak about?
So on the 40 minutes, we're gonna talk about transactions and how to get your deals through the title company as quickly as possible. Of course, we'll talk about our company, Easy. We'll talk about some of the clients that we've helped take from $100,000 a month to $800,000 a month and how we did that. And I'm gonna change it up a little bit. I know we've got some special pricing stuff that we're gonna do that we're gonna roll out.
Awesome.
For your event that is not going to be public. It's going to be a one-time page because I know a lot of the people at this event are newer people. So we're going to do something cool. So yeah, and then I'd love to get up there and talk about dispositions and marketing and all the steps of marketing and how we have taken our company and been so successful. So I'm excited to definitely talk about dispo. I love doing that. And then creative financing, the thing that most people don't know about me because I'm kind of known as the dispo guy and the TC guy is that, all of our real money, is built out of creative financing and owner financing. So I absolutely love talking about that as well. I just had to do a personal financial statement for these refis that I'm doing, and our rental portfolio is worth just a little over $8 million, and we have $6,000 in upfront money. Right. So none of this nonsense that some of these guys are teaching, like go buy subject to and put a $50,000 second on it. Like we bought all direct from the seller, and I have 3 properties with $2,000 down. So, and it's worth $8 million right now. So yeah. So I love talking about that as well.
Wow. So how to build that $8 million portfolio with $6,000 out of pocket, right?
And we'll talk about if we have time or whatever happens, but and we'll talk about how that meshed in perfectly with our wholesale business, how we kind of fell backwards into that strategy, because I think it was something that we created, and you've heard it, right? I don't know that a lot of people do it the way that we do it. Everybody wants to make it really complicated to do owner financing, and my goal with everything is to make it as simple as possible because I'm not that smart. So we believe simple is scalable, and we can show show any wholesaler how to bolt that right onto their business and make it seamless. And then, how you can take your 1 in 10 conversion to maybe 2 in 10 or 3 in 10.
Yeah, the properties that I personally bought in the last 6 years, no, maybe less than that, probably 3 years, it's all been creative financing.
Love it. I
never went to a bank. I never put an application for a loan or anything like that.
That's why it's such a pain in the ass for me to do this refi. I did have a couple properties that I had to refi out of because I put them on a balloon, which was a big mistake. Anyways, my 5 years is up, and I had to put together.
Well, you can always renegotiate and extend, right?
Yeah, well, I'm already extended a few months, so
right.
So they need to just renew the loan. So I had to put together my, because we're not big bank people, right? We've done everything, with direct with seller. So anyway, so I finally got all that done last week, and I should do the paperwork this week and get it refied, and maybe we'll pull out a little bit of cash too. We'll see.
A little bit. You've had those properties for a while now.
Yeah, man. Yeah, we're sitting on a bunch of equity, but that was a thing the last couple of years, as I know everybody was just stripping out equity for low interest loans, and again, everybody's got to do their business their own way. For me, and you probably remember this, I remember a lot of people that lost their ass after the last recession because they were so over leveraged. So that kind of scares me a little bit. As an investor, I'm 51, man. I'm like an old timer in this business. I'm like really close to the finish line. I don't know that I want to. Yeah, I could pull out $4 million cash tax free, but man, first off, I got to take that money and go invest it someplace, right? Because I have to get a return big enough to pay off, to pay off the note that I just signed. And then, now I'm locked into it for another 20 years of dealing with it. Whereas, I'm done in 7 or 8 years, and I can just put it all with a property manager and go someplace else and collect $50,000 a month. Like, I'm done, if I want to.
Yeah, I agree. Or, or if this year wholesaling does very well, you can just start paying off properties, man. And
yeah, that's true.
Be done with it. I'm actually doing that with 2 properties I have. One I may sell because I have so much equity in it that I'm like, I'd rather sell it. That's the thing. I don't like being a landlord anymore. So I don't enjoy that, like the call from the tenant or this tenant didn't pay or whatnot. And to me, to go build a portfolio of houses, I have to have a partner that wants to deal with that.
Yeah, well, we turned I self-managed until 2 years ago, year and a half ago, maybe last year, I don't know. But I turned it all over to a great property manager. The only thing I do is approve work orders at this point. So it's pretty hands-off for me. And, they've actually done a great job raising my rents almost $10,000 a month. So it's worked out good for me. I'm not on the ever sell plan. Like I know a lot of guys are, they want to be in wraps and lease options and all these things. And that's great. Again, everybody run your business your own way, right? Me and John Jackson love to argue about this. But, my thought is did all this work to find the deal, negotiate the deal, close the deal, get it all lined up. I don't ever want it to pay off and close out, right? I mean, from a buyer, I would much rather rent that and just have cash coming in every single month for 50 years after I'm dead, right? Like I want that generational wealth to leave to our kids and grandkids. So that's just me, but everybody has to do their business their own way.
Yeah. Well, David, thank you so much, man, for taking the time today of being here with me and doing another podcast. Guys, don't forget to hit share, like, and subscribe. Go find David at David Olds REI on Instagram, and he's putting all kinds of videos out there on TikTok, Instagram, and Facebook. Look up his company as well. If you're an experienced investor and you're actually doing some transactions and you're in need of a transactional coordinator, why not get a bunch of transactional coordinators that know what they're doing? And that's Easy REI Closings, who's actually sponsored to our event as well.
Yeah,
and come see them in Houston, man. They're gonna be here February 3, 4, and 5. Come check their hand. Ask them questions personally. David also has vast information on dispo processes. I learned a lot of my dispo processes from David and his team. We actually paid a visit to Chattanooga last year. I enjoy that, man. I saw that you were doing a like a end of the year goal setting meetup, and I was looking at my calendar to see how I could fit it, but I was just swamped.
Yeah, we're going to start doing a monthly meetup again. I think our next one is the 24th, whatever Tuesday that week is. And I've got a friend of mine that's an appraiser, so we're going to bring him in and talk about the what an appraiser looks at when valuing a property. And I think that'll be very helpful to, wholesalers, right? Because a lot of times they're just out there shooting in the dark. So, I don't get to be as active in my community as real estate community as I used to be, because I travel so much and just get a little busy. So we're going to start doing a monthly meetup here in our office.
I've been thinking about that, David. So, I was moving to Florida, and wife had plans approved, the whole 9 yards, right?
Yeah.
But then I started changing my mind because I wasn't satisfied with the schools that I was finding for the kids.
Yeah.
And my son loves the school he goes to, and moving him is kind of like doing, it's kind of like doing him a disservice, to be honest with you.
Right.
And then my daughter will actually get access to the school as well. It's a charter school, so it's not easy to get in.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
It's one of those schools that are like, you have to apply. They got some sort of selection process or whatnot, and then you get in, right? And then because my son is in the school, my daughter can actually go to the school. So I changed my mind on moving. I said,
just more rich guy privilege that you got going on down there in Houston.
Yeah. So I said, okay, I'm gonna stay here in Houston.
Yeah.
But if I stay in Houston, what do I want to do while I'm here now, right? Yeah. Because there's a lot of things that I didn't do last year because I was thinking I was leaving.
Right.
Like I didn't buy more properties here. I didn't, I didn't think about opening other businesses locally.
Yeah.
And that's something that I always wanted to do. I wanted to diversify into other ventures, right? So I think we're gonna close the office in March, where the office that you know, because our lease is up. But I'm gonna find a place where I can turn it into an event center. Nice. And maybe start doing monthly meetups and things of that nature. Maybe do my own events in that event center, because we leave a lot of money at the hotels.
Oh my gosh,
yeah, a lot. Like it's every time we do an event, the hotels takes $50,000 to $60,000 easily. Yeah. So I'm thinking, how can I channel that money to an event center that I can do? And I don't know if you know Philip Vincent, but
I do. Yeah.
He's got his own event center in St. Louis.
How big is it?
It's about, I think he told me it's 4,500 or 6,000 square feet, something like that.
So that's what we have here is 6,000 square foot. But, you've been here. We're chopped into, it's 3 different offices, the wholesale office, EZ, and the conference room. And I love that conference room, but we're actually hiring 3 new TCs because we're growing so fast. We're probably going to move the EZ people over into the conference room and make that front room our conference room. But even then, as EZ grows, we're going to have to put more people back over there. So it's either that or move them into the big office. So,
well, he's got 6,000 or 5,000 or whatever, but
yeah,
no,
laid out better than
he's
mine.
got 6,000 with 4,000 for the venue side. So that's one big area, right?
Yeah, man.
So I've been thinking about doing something like that here. The thing is, my events, you know how we do music all loud, and I don't know that I could do that in an office building because of the noise. So that's a project that I'm starting to embark with Cesar right now. We're thinking about where we want to do this, whether we get a restaurant and turn it into an event center.
Interesting.
Yeah, and I want to turn it into a profit center too. I just don't want to do my events and that's it. I want to do, I don't know, weddings and things of that nature in there because I own all the equipment already for it.
Right. I'd love to have a big center like that. And what I was thinking was, like a separate wing where, a professional podcast studio. Like I did one with Tim Herridge in Dallas. Oh my God. I met him to do his podcast a week or 2 ago. Dude, it was a legit studio. Like it was impressive. I walked in, there was like 5 cameras. We were in the Oprah room. And it was a legit studio. In fact, the Louis Gohmert, the congressman, was coming in there after us with a panel to be filmed. So it was cool. So I'd love to have something like that.
Do you take pictures of that?
I really didn't. But I was telling our friend Cheek that like next time he's in Dallas, because they'll give you tours to be a client, and dude, they had like 6 studios. It was really impressive. It was really impressive. So it'd be worth it it'd be worth the trip to go up there to check it out, to see. I mean, they had a studio, and then there was like a smaller production room with all the dials and all the shit, and then another studio, and it was cool, man. I was impressed. I was a little taken back. I've never been. It was like going to the news TV or channel or whatever. So
well, because honestly, I have the equipment. It just doesn't look like that because it's in an office space. It's not organized like. But my stuff, like we have all high quality equipment, right? And but yeah, we're gonna have a podcast studio and things of that nature.
Yeah. I think there's an opportunity for that as people realize podcasting and video, and it gets, not everybody, dude. I just had to go buy a $1,500 camera, and I'm like, what? What? 50? So to have 5 of them, right? Nobody can, and that's a cheap camera. That's not even. Fucking Cheeks running around with $8,000 cameras, a bag full of them. So yeah, I mean, it's expensive to do, and people, I think there's a market for that.
It definitely is, brother. So, anyhow, David, thank you so much for being here today, man. We have a lot more. You see, we could be talking here for 3 hours, 4 hours, easily.
Yeah,
easily. We got so much stuff to talk about, but. Anyhow, guys, don't forget to hit share, like, and subscribe. Attend Growth February 3, 4, and 5. Come see David. Easy area closings and everyone else that's coming to the event is going to be pretty cool, and we're going to have a great time.
Killer lineup.
Yeah, so thank you for joining us, guys, and we'll see you on the next one.
See you guys.